So today we'll be looking at the God's redemptive administration in the book of Daniel 40, part 42. Today we're going to be finally looking at Daniel chapter 11, not 10, it's 11. And we'll be focused, so we have already examined Daniel chapter 1 to 10, and today will be 11, the rise of Persia and Greece. So the appearance of Persia and Greece. Daniel 11 verses 1 to 4. Let's read together. And in the first year of Darius the Mede, I arose to be an encouragement and a protection for him. And now I will tell you the truth. Behold, 3 more kings are going to arise in Persia. Then the 4th will gain far more riches than all of them. As soon as he becomes strong through his riches, he will rouse the whole empire against the realm of Greece. A mighty king will arise, and he will rule with great authority and do as he pleases. But as soon as he has arisen, his kingdom will be broken up and parceled out to the 4 points of the compass, though not to his own descendants, nor according to his authority which he yielded, but his sovereignty will be uprooted and given to others besides them. So Daniel 11 is the first time on this chapter. So Daniel 11 is connected to the vision of Daniel 10. The time when Daniel received the vision was 536 BC. And that's stated in Daniel 10:1. So Daniel 10 and 11 is connected. It's related to each other. So that's why in Daniel 11 verse 1 it says it rose in the first year of Darius, right? And that is 538 BC. 539, that's when Babylon's destroyed. And Mede and Persia, they come in. The first king is Darius. The first year of the king Darius, 538 BC. And that year, Cyrus also takes over. And so as we looked at Daniel 11, so the first year of Darius, that's 538 BC. But as we have said, Daniel 11 and Daniel 10 is connected though. It's not separate, it's like connected. It's connected. So the vision of Daniel 10, then we need to look at Daniel 10 verse 1 to see the vision. And it says here in Daniel 10:1, in the 3rd year of Cyrus king of Persia, a message was revealed to Daniel. And that's 536 BC. So Daniel received this vision, this message about, and so it says, the message was true and one of great conflict. But he understood the message and had an understanding of the vision. And so that vision was in Daniel chapter 10. And it examines that. And now in Daniel 11, it's not a different time. It's about the same vision in Daniel 11. It's just explaining in connection. So Daniel 10 and 11, the vision and revelation, he received it in the 3rd year of King Cyrus. But Daniel 11:1, it says the first year of Darius it's basically reiterating like the history that went past like 2 years prior in 538 BC. He's kind of like reviewing and going over what happened in the past. And so Daniel 10, this is 3rd year of Cyrus. But why is it 11, 1st year of Darius? The 1st year of Darius the Mede. That's 538 BC. And you might think that it's like different visions, but no, it's the same vision. The vision was given in the 3rd year of King Cyrus in Daniel 10:1, 536 BC. But in 11, It's talking about the same vision, but it's referring to what happened 2 years past in 538 BC. It's kind of bringing that out, what happened 2 years ago, and then kind of explaining about that. And we have looked at this in the past, but Daniel 10, if Daniel 10 deals with the spiritual welfare behind the events revealed to Daniel, then Daniel 11 deals with the physical and historical words that unfolded on earth. So Daniel 10 deals with the spiritual way of welfare from Daniel chapter 8, while Daniel 11 is talking about the physical and historical words that unfolded on earth. So what's in Daniel 8? Daniel 8, 20 to 21. Let's read it. The ram which you saw with the 2 horns represents the kings of Media and Persia, and the shaggy goat represents the kingdoms of Greece, and the large horn that is between his eyes is the first king. It's talking about ram and then a goat. Ram is referring to the kings of Mede and Persia, and then the goat represents the kingdom of Greece. But this is also revealed in Daniel chapter 2. This is when Daniel was dragged, 2 years after he was dragged, and Nebuchadnezzar had a dream about this big statue. And so that there was a head of gold, there's a chest and arms and stomach and legs and calves and feet. And so it was this big, there's this vision about the statue. And the Nebuchadnezzar, it says that you, Nebuchadnezzar, are the head of gold. But then after you, there will arise another kingdom inferior to you. That's the second. And then another third kingdom of bronze. So there's a third kingdom of bronze, which will rule over all the earth. And so Daniel 2, it starts with Babylon. It goes all the way to Rome, Roman Empire. So after Babylon is, the next nation is Mede and Persia. Mede and Persia is the second, right? And the third that is like bronze, that's Greece. And then this is Daniel chapter 2, but then in Daniel 8, it explains it more. That ram is the Mede and Persia, and then the goat is the Greece. And it focuses more, and it tells more specifically in Daniel chapter 8. And then we go to Daniel 10 and 11. Daniel 10, it talks about the heavenly spiritual battle, and 11 about the actual physical, like historical battle, like what's going to occur. But Daniel 11, it's not explaining what happened in the past, but it's talking about what will happen in the future. And so when we look at this point of time, though, in history, it's accurate. It actually falls through completely. It actually fits completely, not falls through, but fits completely to the prophecy of the vision. So meet Persia, and then Greece, right here in Daniel 2 about this statue. And then Daniel chapter 8 elaborates more on the same topic, but it's talking about with the vision of the ram and the goat. And then Daniel 10, it talks about the spiritual battles, and then Daniel 11. And so, it talks about, it's a prophecy about what will happen in the future. But for us, now that it has already happened, it's very accurate. Big number 1, the fall of Babylon and the rise of the Persian Empire. So Babylon fell with the death of King Belshazzar, and the Medo-Persian Empire during the reign of Darius took possession of the kingdom. And so this alliance, this Medo-Persian Empire, so they took over the old nation of Babylon, right? Babylon fell with the death of its king. And so let's get Daniel 5, 30 to 31. That same night, Belshazzar, the Chaldean king, was slain. So Darius the Mede received the kingdom at about the age of 62. So there's like thousands of people gathered, and they brought the holy items from the temple in Jerusalem. They had those golden, the temple items, and they used it for their party, for their banquet. And then the finger appeared, mene mene tekel parsin. It appeared, these writing appeared on the wall. And then, after Belshazzar is killed. And then with his death, the Babylonian kingdom just falls. And then now we have the Medo-Persian Empire that takes over. However, this outcome was a result of God's sovereign providence and rule. It was not because of human relationships or understanding. No, it's all by God's sovereign providence and rule that this occurred. God intervened. Right? This is the result of his intervention. So the leaders in the world, leader of a nation, God doesn't just establish them, however. But he doesn't just, and it's not only the people that pleases God can be leaders, no. But there are God's hand in everywhere. But he doesn't just always pick good people or his own people for that positions. He uses even the good people, and he uses even the wicked people for his will. Such a person became a leader. Right now, God's providence is upon that person. But what is accurate? Whether this or that, through this person, God's work will be done. Maybe it would be great if it's used for a good purpose. But sometimes that person can be used for a wicked purpose. But the internal God's sovereign providence and rule, what is contained in that person, whether good or bad? God uses them in various ways, right? The world is flowing in this direction. Oh, it's going in this way. Oh, this is right. You may also fall into destruction. We don't look at the people. We look at how God leads. We look at God's providence and rule. And so all of this result, this outcome, we shouldn't be looking at the relationship between people and the wars and the battles. No, we need to look at God's sovereign providence and rule. So Daniel 11 verse 1 once again. And in the first year of Darius the Mede, I arose to be an encouragement and a protection for him. So I rose to be an encouragement and a protection for him. And so in the first year of Darius the Mede, Belshazzar, the king of Babylon, dies, and Babylon's destroyed, and the Medo-Persian Empire conquered it. It's not because Darius was so powerful that all these things happened, that he took over. No. God intervened. It was God's work. I arose to be an encouragement. It says I. So the deliverance of the people of Israel was to take place when the 70 years of their captivity in Babylon were completed. So it's been 70 years that they have become Babylonian captives, right? And it's said that there will be freedom when the 70 years are full. When it's completed, in the captivity in Babylon is completed, the 70 years, you will return. Jeremiah 25:11. And this whole land shall be a desolation and a horror. And these nations will serve the king of Babylon 70 years. So for 70 years, they served the Babylonian king. And now after 70 years have passed, now no longer are you captives. You will be freed. And so this is already a prophecy telling you that this what will occur. And so when was the first Babylonian captivity? 605 BC. And this is when Daniel was taken captive. So 605. 70 years, when did it complete? 536 BC. And when was that? That's the beginning of the temple reconstruction. During the year of King Cyrus. He said, build the temple of God. The order was made. And now the people are to return to build the temple of God. And so the beginning of the temple reconstruction is 536 BC, and that is 70 years. Second, the deliverance of the people of Israel began with the decree of Cyrus, king of Persia, permitting their return for the rebuilding of the temple. Isaiah 44:28. Through prophet Isaiah, this time, Cyrus wasn't even born at this time, but this is a prophecy about Cyrus by prophet Isaiah. It is I who says of Cyrus, he is my shepherd, and he will perform all my desire. And he declares of Jerusalem, she will be built, and of the temple, your foundation will be laid. And so so it will all happen through Cyrus. So just as God's prophecy is fulfilled, there needs to be a king named Cyrus for this to happen. And through Cyrus, this proclamation has to be made to build the temple of God. And so Ezra 1:1-2. Now in the first year of Cyrus king of Persia, in order to fulfill the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus king of Persia, so that he sent a proclamation throughout all of his kingdom, and also put it in writing, saying, Thus says the Cyrus king of Persia, the Lord, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he has appointed me to build him a house in Jerusalem, which is in Judah. And so this is how they're able to return to Jerusalem. And for him to return, who needs to appear? Cyrus. We need Cyrus, a king named Cyrus. So for that to happen, Babylon has to be destroyed for there to be Cyrus. So with the king Belshazzar, Babylon's destroyed. This is God's sovereign providence and rule for it to end there. We need to find the internal God's providence and rule. Like why? And it's because for this to happen with Cyrus needs to bring about the return to Israel, right? And for that to happen with the proclamation of the building of the temple in Jerusalem, Babylon needs to be destroyed. And on the 70th, we see that this needs to be given. So 539 BC, Babylon's destroyed. 538, Darius, then it's Cyrus, then becomes Cyrus. And then 538, and then the proclamation is made, and 537 is the first return, and then 536 is when now it's the 70th year, and the Israelite people are now starting the building of the temple. So all of this all fits in. In order for this to all work, Babylon needs to be destroyed. And the Medo-Persian needs to take over. And then a person named Cyrus has to become king. And so God has planned this in such great detail and has brought it forth. And so today, it's the same. I believe it is the same today with God's sovereign providence and rule. The world, the way it's going, the situations that's happening around the world. It's not about, we need to think, and we need to examine God's providence and rule that we can see in the Bible, because it is happening in the world as well. So God moved and used the Persian Empire to fulfill his prophetic promise. And it happened so quickly. It happened so quickly, right? As we can see with the fall of Babylon. However, God, who helped the Medo-Persian Empire overthrow Babylon, also foretold that he would raise Greece to the center stage of history and overthrow the Persian Empire. And so Persian Empire, God used it. But he's going to overthrow that Persian Empire and then bring Greece to power. Job 12:23. He makes the nations great, then destroys them. He enlarges the nations, he leads them away. And so God is using the Persian Empire. And it's not, does he use that nation forever, for eternity? Oh, I have nothing to fear because there's only will be good days ahead. No, if you just think that way. No, God is God of justice. He examines. As you have done, as you have worked, he will repay. If you have done wicked actions, there is the wicked consequence. If you have done the good, then there will be a good reward. And so even the Medo-Persian Empire, they were used for God's purpose. But that nation was also overthrown, and Greece came into power. And this is God's sovereign providence. Big number 2, the fall of the Persian Empire and the rise of the Greek Empire. So Daniel 11:2-3. And now I will tell you the truth. Behold, 3 more kings are going to arise in Persia, and the 4th will gain far more riches than all of them. As soon as he becomes strong through his riches, he will arouse the whole empire against the realm of Greece. And so they will strike against Greece. So the Persian Empire, it became a very vast land, right? They attacked Greece, and it's talking about that. But a mighty king will arise, and he will rule with great authority and do as he pleases. So now Daniel 11 verse 2 talks about the 4 kings of the Persian Empire. Who are they? First king was Cyrus II. This is Cyrus the Great. He was from 539 to 530 BC. So there's 3 kings, and then there's a 4th king. So the first king was Cyrus II. Who's the second king? Cambyses II. We don't see Cambyses in the Bible. We don't see him in the Bible, but he is the son of Cyrus. He's the son of Cyrus the Great. So he conquers Egypt. Cambyses II conquers Egypt and to make a vaster Persian Empire. Third king is Darius I. Darius the Great. Who is this Darius the Great? 522 to 486. This Darius does appear in the Bible. It's Ezra 6:15. And this temple was completed on the 3rd day of the month Adar. It was the 6th year of the reign of King Darius. It's talking about temple. This is the Zerubbabel temple. This is a reconstruction of the Zerubbabel temple. And when was it reconstructed? It was completed on the 6th year of the reign of King Darius. And this Darius, he's the 3rd king of the Persian Empire. Who's the 4th king? The very famous Ahasuerus. In the history, they call him Xerxes the First. He's called Xerxes. And he is also appears in the Bible. He is the son of Darius the First. We had Cyrus. His son was Cambyses. And then we see that Ahasuerus is the son of Darius the First, and he appears in the book of Esther. Esther, the Persian Empire was broken into 127 districts, and then the king was Ahasuerus, and that's the 4th king that it's talking about in Daniel chapter 11. King Ahasuerus invaded Greece. It says it invaded Greece, but his campaign ended in failure. So even though he invaded Greece, he did not succeed. He failed in invading Greece. And so we look at the history. In 480 BC, there's something called Battle of Thermopylae. Thermopylae. So Ahasuerus had victory there. And have you watched the movie 300? Because that movie is based on this battle. And the 300 Spartans were killed. So, but it also became a time where they can reorganize their military and save them time. It gave them time. And so you can see Italy here in white circle. And then here's Israel back down there. And this here's Turkey. And here in the middle is Greece. This is Greece. And here we can see the Persian Empire and the Greek states. They're right next to each other. The red line is the Persian campaign. This number 2 is the Battle of Thermopylae, and Persia wins here. And then they even capture Athens. They go on and then capture Athens. That's the Parthenon. But then from then on, the Persian Empire is defeated. There's a defeat at the Battle of Salamis. It's like a naval battle. So time passed. The Greece then swallows up the Persian Empire later on, with time passing. And so in 331 BC, a mighty king, Alexander the Great, arose and conquered the Persian Empire. So he's a mighty king, right? He is so skillful. So Alexander the Great rises in 331 BC and conquers the whole Persian Empire. And this is when he was in his 20s. Daniel 11 verse 3. And a mighty king will arise, and he will rule with great authority and do as he pleases. Do as he pleases. He does whatever he wants. What does that tell us about Alexander the Great? It reveals us about his pride. He should do according to his own will. This reveals the pride of Alexander the Great. And so everything's going so well for him, but once you become so proud and arrogant, you crumble. James 4:6. But he gives a greater grace. Therefore it says, God is opposed to the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Biblically, and then also in the world, it's the same. If you become too arrogant, you won't go far. You won't go long. So Alexander the Great, because of his arrogance and pride. Then being number 3, the division of the Greek Empire. And Daniel 11 verse 4. But as soon as he has arisen, his kingdom will be broken up and parceled out towards the 4 points of the compass, though not to his own descendants, nor according to his authority which he wielded, for his sovereignty will be uprooted and given to others besides them. And so he has become so powerful, but now the nation is going to be broken up. He dies early, right, at a young age, and is divided out. So when you die, usually the son takes over, right, and continues the lineage and becomes the king. But no, when he died, he was only 32. And the baby was in the mother's womb. And so then they kill the wife, they kill the baby, right? All that happened. So Alexander the Great died prematurely in 323 BC at the age of 32. He dies early. And so then the Greek Empire was divided into 4 kingdoms. So it was not given to his son, but it was divided by the generals, right? The first section is by General Seleucus. He took over, Seleucus. And he took over the northern Syria and Mesopotamia. So this whole yellow area, that's General Seleucus. He took over. second region was taken over by Ptolemy. He took Egypt, and then he took Palestine and southern Syria. So this whole area down here, that's what Ptolemy took. So Egypt, Palestine. So that becomes part of Ptolemy. Seleucus, before the yellow area, they really took more firm control over the nations, while the Ptolemy took a more milder, lax control over his region. Now the third is General Lysimachus, and that's Asia Minor here, more part of Turkey. And then the last is General Cassander, who took the Macedonia and Greece. The original Greek homeland was taken by General Cassander. And so we just looked at from Daniel 11, 1 through 4. What's the conclusion? Earthly empires rise and fall, but God's redemptive history never stops. It never stops. God's redemptive history never stops, while the empires and nations rise and fall. Oh, the nation's destroyed. Oh, it rose in power. You may be happy or sad or be shocked by the worldly events, but all of those events, when we see these nations, this has God's intervention, His providence. What we see with our eyes, we shouldn't just start with what we feel about that event, but how is God's redemptive history progressing? And what is God's providence? What is God trying to bring about? So truly, let us be people of God's wisdom. So Daniel 2:21, let's read. And it is He who changes the times and the epochs. He removes kings and establishes kings. He gives wisdom to wise men and knowledge to men of understanding. So it is all God. So it is God, His sovereign rule and providence that removes and establishes kings. Isaiah 40 verse 8. The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God stands forever. Amen. So God, who is eternal, He's unchanging. God's word that's unchanging and eternal. Let us grab onto God's word this week and be victorious. I bless in the name of the Lord.